Today we're going to go back and discuss the issues with the white silicone and the blue Loctite. I thought this was put to rest, but it's been brought up again. And I want to point out that it looks like so far we've found this white silicone in both the production runs of 717 and 317. The silicone itself is not the problem. The problem is the application of the silicone. As you can see, the silicone is in the detent holes here for the screws. The silicone, when it dries, is it is an aggressive adhesive, whereas the blue Loctite is not. The blue Loctite is designed to be removed with machine tools. This is from the website of the Loctite Corporation. And there is no issue, or should be, using a blue Loctite. If you choose to use purple, that's fine, but the blue works, and we're going to prove it to you by this video. So I'm just letting you know, it's not the silicone, it's the way it's been applied. As you can see, it's puddled here in these detents, and look what happens. It gets on the screws, it gets in the threads of the screws, and see how it's in this thread? And when that dries, that's what's making the screws practically impossible to remove. And then if you can't break the bond of this silicone, the interior hex portion strips, and now you can't get it off without a blowtorch. So here we go. I think this proves this point. Here's the white silicone in the threads, and that's what the problem is. So now, today, we're going to take a stirrup, and we're going to put it together properly using the silicone and using the blue Loctite. The problem is that at the factory, someone is putting the silicone here or on the rail, and it's getting in the detent. The trick is to not get it in the detent. So I'm applying the silicone directly to the tread, but avoiding the detent holes. If you would like, you can put some more silicone on the top of this rail, but avoid the detent holes. You could also put it here on this side of the rail, avoiding the detent holes. That was the problem, that the detent holes, the excess silicone was placed over the detent holes, and that's why it didn't work properly. Okay, I'm going to put this together now. This is a right stirrup. Okay, I'm going to wipe off the excess a little bit, clean up my hand. This is blue Loctite. The blue Loctite is an appropriate material. There's nothing wrong with using blue Loctite. We're going to put a drop of it. I've got the screws in place. We're just going to put a drop of it. Just a drop. You don't need that much Loctite. Just a drop. Just barely a drop. Okay, screws are in place. I want to make it finger tight. I don't want to crank on it because we've got all that adhesive. Just finger tight. And clean up the excess. Clean up the excess silicone. And now we're just going to let this dry for several hours. And then we're going to come back maintaining the stirrup exactly like this. We're going to come back and disassemble it. Thank you. Well, it's been 24 hours. We now have the stirrup we were working on, and now we're going to remove the blue Loctite. It's unscrewing. This is the first one. You can see it's backing out with no issue whatsoever. Hand tight, release. Okay, next one. same thing. It's releasing. This is with your tool. Just fine. I'm not going to take these all the way out. There's no need to. Once they start releasing, that's the whole point of the argument, is that the blue Loctite is not the issue. One more. That's 3. There it is. Here comes 4. Not a problem. Okay. You're probably wondering why we went to this much trouble. I'm going to tell you. I thought this discussion was settled some time ago, but it was brought up again in a recent email indicating that MDC was responsible for recommending an improper product, blue Loctite, and that blue Loctite was part of this problem where the hex heads are in there. The hex screws are so tight that they are unable to be removed without stripping the hex head itself or without having to use a blowtorch. At this stage, I have to defend MDC and the Loctite Corporation. There's no problem here. The problem is the improper application of the white adhesive or any adhesive, in that the factory allowed the adhesive to get in the 2 detents on either side of the center rail, and it threaded up into the screws, which we've shown you, and when it did that, that overly aggressive silicone, whether it's clear or white, is locking up the screws, and we cannot remove them at all unless a blowtorch is applied. So I would like to put this discussion to rest. MDC or the Loctite Corporation has no responsibility whatsoever for the fact that the screws cannot be removed. Rather, and we have now proved that it's the improper application of any adhesive that tracks into the screw area. We have shown you that you could put the adhesive anywhere you want except where it may come into contact with the screws. You can put it on the treads, you can put it on the center bar. Just don't put it anywhere where it's going to come into contact with the screws. And let's move on to future business. MDC is going to take no responsibility for this, and I hope this is the last we have to discuss this at all. Thank you.